Kia ora koutou, ko Michaela Dobson. Hi everyone, I'm Michaela and I am a PhD student currently at NASA JPL, and I'm doing an internship here with Dr. Michael Tuite.
Hi, Michaela.
And so I am working in the astrobiology lab, and yeah, today we're just going to chat to Michael about his story, how he came to be the manager of the astrobiology lab, his background, and what he's working on. So Dr. Michael Tuite, tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I was born at a very young age. I came to, I had a previous career in information technology, and didn't earn my PhD until I was well into my 40s. But I've explained to you a couple times, or I like to tell the story that when I was a teenager in high school, I told my guidance counselor that when she asked what I wanted to do when I grew up, I wanted to be an exobiologist. Eventually I did wind, after a career working in information technology at the University of Virginia, I wound up earning first a master's degree and then a PhD within the environmental science program, so not within a geology related planetary science program. That just turned out to be a skill set that fit very nicely in astrobiology, and I responded to an ad and quickly wound up as a postdoc here at JPL, and it's just history since then.
So what then do you specifically work on here versus what you worked on for your PhD, if you come from an environmental science background but you're now in the exobiology, astrobiology kind of space?
In my dissertation work, I was looking at nitrogen isotopes in in Devonian age, 400 million year old oceans, understanding the biogeochemical cycles and what kind of, what was the microbial ecosystem like. And that's immediate. Right now, Mars 2020 is exploring Jezero Crater, which was a lake like 3.5 billion years ago.
Yeah, so you mentioned Mars 2020, so are you working on that at the moment? Is that part of your role here at JPL?
Well, it is. I mean, half of my role, or half of my paycheck, comes from Mars 2020 mission, and so that entails looking at lots of pictures of rocks on Mars and helping to make decisions about which ones we will sample, because Mars 2020, of course, is very special in that it will result in the return or bringing samples from Mars to the Earth for study in laboratories. Every time we get pictures and data back from Mars, there's that component. That's often exciting, right? Because we're seeing stuff that obviously no one has ever seen before, and the interpretation can be very challenging. But if I'm looking at an ancient Earth rock and I find a molecule that I didn't expect to be there, that's often exciting too, or no one else had ever found. And of course, working with our lovely interns, is always a highlight of every year.
So then, what would your advice be for, say, an intern in New Zealand that would like to come potentially join the lab or get involved at JPL? Perhaps they're a geology or a biology student.
You tell me. What's been your experience here at JPL in talking to people? Even to well-established scientists, do they slam the door in your face?
No, everyone's been so lovely. Everyone's been really welcoming and just willing to give up time to just even chat for half an hour over a coffee about their life experience and what they've been through. I found it to be really warm in terms of everyone is just really obviously excited about what they do, excited about what they research or what they build or study, but also just really excited to pass that on.
For me especially, right, the attraction of astrobiology is that it's such a diverse discipline, with so many aspects or so many ways to address the big question, right? And that's exactly, and of course the other part of it is that it does address one of the most compelling questions in science, right? Are we alone? And so, to have a hand in addressing that question is, really ultimately very satisfying.
Very mind-boggling.
Right, and it's not purely abstract, right? We actually build things that go to other planets to look for this stuff.
I think also it kind of sounds like astrobiology is all around you. So I mean, I know in your free time you like to do hiking, you like to work with like scouts and get involved in the natural world.
Well, that's right. I mean, I'm very much a natural historian. Right. I like to study the trees and the bugs and the birds, and to understand my environment. But I often at night when I'm sitting with a book or I'm in the lab, I'm thinking about, well, what was the environment in this 3.5 billion year old lake? Based in part upon my understanding or study or just observation of the environment around me, and an understanding that it's ecology is complex. Discovering that there was say we find one cell on Mars. I mean, that's fantastic, and it kind of addresses the big question. But it just opens up the next really big question, which is the field of astroecology, right? Because no critter lives by itself, right? Didn't appear and then sits there without any mates or any without biogeochemical cycles and all kinds of other biotic and abiotic considerations. And so I see that the discovery of especially say some kind of microbial life from even 3 billion years ago on Mars really just opens up then the whole
another set of questions to answer.
Right. So what was its environment? Who else lived there? How did elements get cycled? What was the temperature like? What was the seasonality? There's just so much to understand.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting. And hopefully we'll see some more New Zealand interns in your lab soon.
That'd be great. Make sure you pack some more R's with you.
R's? Not any more Whittaker's chocolate?
Oh yeah, you can bring that too.
Yeah.